Thank you. Something's stuck there. Fix if you can. Okay, I'm going to call the regular council meeting for Crossfield Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026 to order at 6 p.m. Item 2.1, proposed agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda? Okay, if there's no changes, can I get a motion?
Through the chair,
Councillor Knight,
I move the March 3rd, 2026 agenda be amended with the addition of the RCMP Community Priorities Plan under 4.1 RCMP Quarterly Update.
is there anyone opposed? Okay, that's motion carried. Item 3.1, minutes of February 17th, 2026, regular council meeting. Are there any edits? Okay, if there's no edits, who'd like to make a motion?
Through the chair.
Councillor Nielsen,
I move that the minutes of the February 17th, 2026 regular council meeting be accepted as presented.
is anyone opposed? And motion carried. Tonight we have delegations here tonight. RCMP quarterly update, Inspector Lauren Weir and Sergeant Ian Patey, and our very own Corey's here too. Look at that. So if you guys like to come on up to the presentation table. Oh, stuck. Touch my screen. I always forget to touch my screen. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thanks for having us as always. I'll go through the Q3 crime stats reporting first, and then we could talk about the community priorities plan. So you were sent out some documents. One was a letter for the commanding officer, Trevor Giroux, and it kind of just talked about the good stuff that's going on with policing in Alberta right now and how he wants to move forward. There was a letter to mayor and council, and this discussed the Alberta police funding model and talked about how it strengthened the RCMP's ability to meet the needs, and discussed adding 279 police officers, 136 directly to detachments, along with 242 civilian staff. And then we were able to provide you with a provincial policing report. So as always, I'll go through the different community priorities. So priority 1, crime reduction. So energy and bicycle integrated rural using Project Arrow. Project Arrow, as I've explained before, is we monitor 5 subjects in the rural area. Checks on these subjects monitored by Project Arrow has shown them to be mostly compliant. And during the reporting period from October to December, subjects are added and removed. There were 28 checks conducted during the reporting period, and all but 2 were compliant. Those subjects were breached in both instances for not abiding with their conditions. The crime reduction unit resources remain on the front lines through continued frontline policing shortages. Ongoing investigations were being monitored, and source recruitment target identification remained a priority. Happy to report that as of January 2026, the crime reduction unit was stood back up. So they're eager and conducting investigations as we speak. With regards to community engagement, again, I have different police officers assigned to different schools. Constable Hall was assigned to the Crossfield schools, and he'll continue with that assignment as he moves out of the Crossfield enhanced position. He's made those partnerships already, so I think it's only natural that he continues working with those schools. Did you want to speak to any of the events that you specifically did between October and December? Or?
That was just generally all the things that we would usually do throughout the year. Different groups, like buy coffee, like going to that. With great group of people.
Yeah, so some of the highlights, there was some safety patrols around Halloween to ensure the safety of the children. He was able to participate in the Santa Claus parade. Um, and then he did, again, like a lot of work with the schools. He was setting up a program to have nonverbal special needs child attend the fire hall and interact in a positive experience there. He also worked with local road crews to ensure safety during the season with the heavy snowfall removal. He continued to work with community bylaw services on numerous files and community engagements. Um, and he reports that police files were primary frauds, which I can speak to as we go through some of the files here. With regards to road safety, priority number 3, members conduct in this quarter have been at least 164 traffic enforcement activities, including tickets and warnings. And there were also, they conducted 25 impaired driving related investigations, with 17 of those investigations resulting in impaired sanctions. So that's all the rural detachment area. And I can speak specifically to the occurrences in Crossfield. The integrated traffic unit also operates in this area, and they conducted 7 impaired driving related investigations, with 4 of those resulting in impaired sanctions. Then there was a list of some of the community consultation. Of course, I attended and gave the Q2 crime report stats. We participated in the Crossfield Food Bank Christmas Market Field a Cruiser event. And then lastly, with regards to staffing, of the 16 established positions, 14 officers are currently working with no one on special leave. There's 1 hard vacancy with staffing actually ongoing. 1 position is awaiting the new member to transfer in. 1 member is on graduate to return to work. So some of the meat and potatoes, as I like to call it, in terms of the files that we calls for service for October 1st to December 31st. There were 169 calls for service during that period. So not too bad, I think, calls for service. Some of the trending calls for service that I noted when I was doing file reviews today, there were 4 calls for assault, all domestic violence related. In all 4 situations, neither parties wanted to provide statements, and no charges were laid, as that wasn't their wishes. And in those situations, it's very difficult unless we observe visible injuries to proceed forward with any charges. There was a report of assault causing bodily harm at the hockey arena after review of the video footage showed that it was more of a consensual fight. There was a report of uttering threats. Again, this was domestic related. After the investigation, it was determined that the threats were vague and did not meet the threshold for criminal code charges. There was 1 awfully at large investigation, that's SAD crew. They were and currently are looking for a prolific offender on warrant. This is ongoing. I could speak more to that as well further down. 10 break-in enters into a business. 1 were cleared by charge. And this file that's cleared by charge actually involves that prolific offender that SAD crew is currently looking for. He's quite busy in our area, apparently. There was 9 other break-in enters to a business. There was 2 break-in enters to a residence. 1 was unfounded. The lock malfunction and the door didn't close properly. And the other one was a residence that was left vacant for 3 weeks while people were on holidays. And they came back to find that some appliances and food was stolen. There's a criminal harassment, and this was also a domestic related situation. No evidence of support charges. There was an interesting file of extortion and impersonating a police officer, where a subject had been called by someone impersonating a Calgary police officer, telling her to send money in order to receive a police clearance report, and threatening that if they didn't pay, they'd get removed from the country. They were demanding $20,000 cash, and I'm happy to report that no money was lost, as they realized it was a scam before the money was sent. 5 failed to stop remaining accidents, 5 frauds over. 5,000, 7 frauds under 5,000. So clearly there's a lot of fraud files that are occurring during that Q3 reporting period. And some of the, I guess, scams that are going around, a lot of it is getting access to bank accounts online or through people's phones, and then emptying bank accounts or emptying certain amount of money. And one, there was $10,000 loss. This is still under investigation. Another one, there was a $1,300 loss. The second one for $10,000 loss. And then there's another one, it's an anonymous tip of money being embezzled through a oil field company. So that's still under investigation. And then frauds, 7 frauds under 5,000. Again, a lot of the same things, banking, online banking getting compromised and people losing money by transfers being taken out of their account. So I think there may be some time given some presentations for fraud in the community, and or I'll send out some media releases that you guys could probably post to some of your social media pages. It's not just Crossfield that I'm seeing that, it's kind of across all my communities right now, and I'm setting up to do a presentation by Scare here next month. So unfortunately it continues. 6 mental health calls, 11 mischief calls. In Crossfield specifically, talking about the impaired driving, there were 2 impaired driving files, and which both resulted in provincial sanctions and suspensions being passed out. 10 traffic complaints, 1 theft over 5,000, where there was reported jewelry stolen sometime from a residence over a 5-month period, unsure when or by who. And then 5 theft under 5,000. So stuff like thefts from vehicle, garage door opener taken, recycling can stolen from sheds, theft of a small amount of money, $250 from a residence, and theft of a license plate. Another interesting file, there was a call for service of someone going through vehicles. This resulted in members responding and following the vehicle with the assistance of Hawks from Calgary Police Service. The vehicle ended up in the ditch and rolled over. Subject fled, but was located and arrested shortly after and charged with possession of stolen property from the vehicle prowling. We had 16 suspicious activity files, which is great. I love when our guys get called out to those. 4 thefts of a truck, where 3 of the trucks were later recovered, 1 in Drayton Valley, 1 in Red Deer, and 1 in Carstairs. 3 thefts from a motor vehicle. Again, mostly work trucks are being targeted and tools are being stolen out of the trucks, which is common, easy things to sell or pawn off to get money. And then 11 well-being checks for the period of Q3. I did have a chance just to run the numbers for our current Q4, and from January 1st, 2026 till today, there's 104 calls for service. Had a quick look. Again, frauds hit the list, mental health pretty high, suspicious activities, and well-being checks. So these are things that we're going to look at targeting here in this quarter as it ends up. That's it for the crime stats report specifically. Any questions or concerns on that?
Yeah, let's pause there and address this one. Questions from council.
Through the chair,
Councilor Knight.
just curious on the increased drug enforcement trafficking. Is that a stat that you're seeing increased in other communities too? It just went from 1 to 3 in 2023 so far. It's just went up 200%.
Yeah, and with this here, so I didn't notice any from review of Q3. So I think it's because of the crime stats is actually from January, December. But it is commonplace. Like, I mean, it's an increase. I wouldn't say a significant increase given the population, but definitely something that we're aware of. And I think with the crime reduction unit back in service now, that's something that we're going to be looking at here
Good, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
To the chair.
Counselor Brennan?
I'm just curious. It's been pretty high and pretty steady, and it's new to me. I don't know if you've broken it down before, but the Mental Health Act. What's that one?
Yeah, so Mental Health Act is usually calls where we get calls for service where people are in distress. And I mean, that could come from anything to someone's having a bad day, someone's concerned from someone else. We get calls from call centers with the government where if they're calling in to get assistance for different programs and they're again having a bad day and they may make the comment that they want to kill themselves
Right.
out of frustration, right? So a lot of times we'll reply to those crisis situations. Sometimes it's just, hey, I didn't mean it sort of situation, to one extreme to the other extreme of, hey, what resources can we get you? And the other extreme would be us arresting them and taking them into Calgary for a health assessment. So, and then we also have the RPAC team out of Drumheller and the RPAC team out of Cochrane as well that we lean on quite heavily, and even the RPAC team in Airdrie. Sometimes I route from those guys, and they offer assistance, and they have different services as well that they could provide if the person isn't deemed that they need to be taken to the hospital. And again, a lot of times that's on the member's call, what they're seeing at the time of the call and stuff like that, and their assessment of the situation. But yeah, it's just to provide support for people who are going through crisis usually.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? I just have one, like just on the break-ins and whatnot, like it's not just Crossfield, it's all over the place, but what's the plan? How do we mitigate some of those things?
The business stuff, and two of the businesses, which I thought was quite interesting, two of the businesses, they're neighbors to each other, and they were both hit twice in 1 week.
Hmm.
So, like a lot of the times we're looking, I mean, we're doing patrols and that to be proactive in situations where, like, that I know industrial areas, not only here in other communities as well. Like I tell our members to focus on that, especially at night, early in the morning, because they're prime targets. A lot of times, I mean, criminals unfortunately are getting smarter. So in terms of fingerprints and stuff like that, they're few and far between now. I mean, you could look up on the internet. So I'm not giving away any trade secrets. I mean, they're wearing gloves, they're wearing masks, they're wearing disguises. But even in situations where we have good video footage, which is hit or miss, it's very hard to identify.
Mhm.
I thought when I became a police officer, if we had video or picture of someone, we'd solve every crime, but apparently that's not the case. So we do our best. A lot of it is I know a lot of times it's a little disheartening in terms of alarms. We get alarms, calls either significantly after the fact, or we don't, like, I'm talking hours after the fact. And so the opportunity to actually go out and intercept someone is very difficult. So that would be one thing that I'd be encouraging if the businesses do have alarms that we're getting called as soon as the key holder is getting called, not waiting for the key holder to respond and go there to determine if it's a break and enter. In my opinion, we're losing valuable time in that situation. And plus, we don't want the key holder showing up to a place where if someone's there and they have weapons anyway. I'd much rather them call us right away and us get dispatched right away and us go there and it be nothing. I'd much rather that situation than losing that time. So I mean, yeah, quick responses sort of thing, proactive patrols, which I'll continue to encourage my guys to do. Yeah, so
Yeah, and I get it. Like it's not just your responsibility. The responsibility is for businesses, for residents. It's for, you know, everyone to try and do things to prevent to begin with.
Yeah, the target piece is, yeah, in small communities sometimes. We see that where, 25 years ago, I have to lock my house, or I
Yeah.
have to have them. It's just about, trying to be proactive to prevent victimization. And you know, a lot of the, certainly a lot of the bigger files have to be put last year on some of the vehicle theft. Those were very organized, specific
Yeah.
groups that, you know, they're close to Calgary. They prey on the Calgary urban area just
Mhm.
because it's handy. And one of the things about an alarm system or something either in homes and businesses, it allows us to really shrink when the occur. And certainly one of Ian's units goal is to be in the right place. Interrupt, deter, all of those sorts of
Mhm.
things. And if, you know, some of the, particularly, it happens in all communities again. So a business will close at 4 or 5 p.m. and then they come and open up at 8 or 9 in the morning. And so we have this that happens sometime in between. So when is the opportunity for us to have really strategic, proactive goals in and around? And there's also those that shift. They'll go here. We are fortunate that we have a very good relationship with CPS crime analysts and our provincial crime analysts, and they will see trends that are happening in other Calgary urban area attachments. They will be able to alert us, and certainly that then allows again us to be strategic in where we can try and place ourselves, whether it's a marked unit, whether we look at our covert with our crime reduction unit, and sometimes the boys will jump into an unmarked and just try and be, again, that strategic piece on when we can do that. So it is a joint, it is a joint effort, and sort of, one could argue, a joint responsibility, but I do get it, business and homes, et cetera, all of those things do cost more money, and they are, I know that, you know, in some communities, if it's a false alarm, then they'll be billed, you know, so there's different reasons why folks do different things. But yeah, I think there's, you know, there is value, even, you know, an audible alarm sometimes scares the crap out of people and they move along, or somebody that's, you know, lives down the street,
Here's-
calls the police, and, you know, so there is an ability, you know, to do it maybe that isn't super as costly.
Right.
As the ones.
Yeah, and that's definitely deterrence by design sort of thing. Like say that prolific offender, like Mam was saying, it's one of the things that we're working on. SAD crew, Calgary Police, they're all looking for him. We just recently got information that he's back in the area. So I know Constable Gobb was up doing patrols the other night and suspect that he took off on her. So we'll get him, I promise.
Sounds good. Good answer, good information. Thank you. Any other questions on that section? Okay. Let's move on.
Do you want to talk about the community?
I can, the community, everybody's plan, so it's, I think it's rather fine, so it is a new process, we've, certainly the RCMP has annual, performance or performance plan, and that is similar, so this is an Alberta-made, plan, and the goal is that it will, it is a plan that is built to address each community's specific need. So the annual performance plan was sort of an overarching, we did do some consulting, but this is an opportunity for a community to specifically, you know, seek some input from the residents on what they would like to see, what is important to them, what issues they have. And then, you know, whether it's through us meeting with myself and Ian, meeting with mayor and council, or whether mayor and council, you know, gathers what is important or the issues or concerns, and hands it off to the CAO or whoever they want us to start hammering out. What are the things that specifically Crossfield is looking for with respect to the plan and the priorities that we are going to address. The thing that I think is a bit better here is that Crossville's plan probably won't look exactly the same as Bicycle's plan and won't look the same as Rocky View County's plan. And I think that's what's more unique about it. It allows an opportunity to be more collaborative and take the information from community in the planning process so that, my hope is that we will enhance what we have done in the past and be a little bit better at it and be a little more alive to what is unique specifically to Crossfield. And it allows Ian and I to set the expectations on how the community input is going to roll into the priorities that we that are considered and are being asked for. So one of the things, for myself and Ian would be that we will make ourselves available through this process. We will happily provide sort of, we would give you an annual statistical data so that, that's because I often look at these are the crime trends, these are the things we see, so that it can help sort of put some context into certainly, you are presented with the Q reports and the statistics, but perhaps citizens aren't aware of all of those things or the different things that we do. So ultimately, there's different ways, we had discussed before this rolled out. So this kind of rolled out, I got advised about it in mid-January that we were rolling it out. And I'm like, oh, great. So there are some timelines that were attached to the letter that I know that I already told my bosses and division that I'm not going to be able to meet them. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to keep doing the business that we're doing. I just want to make sure that our plans make sense to each community. We have 7 rural communities that we need to go through this process with. I think there's opportunity. Before this rolled out, we had been in discussion with Rocky View County. We didn't do a town hall last year. And that was because when we sat down and looked at our attendance for that, both in person and online, I think we had around 6 or 7 people. The bulk of them, arguably, every one of them were a representative from one of the community's councils. So then it was, I'm very fortunate that Rocky View County has hosted, but it is a lot of effort and heavy lifting on their part. And so I just thought we probably should hold. And then this year we had talked about maybe a survey if we were able to come up with a survey questionnaire that would garner a little bit more opportunity for feedback from the residents of the community and the business folk in the community. So we started having this discussion and then this landed. And again, I'd gone specifically to Rocky View County and said, would you be interested in a survey? And at that time, Lorraine Wesley said, well, we could for sure do it for Rocky View, but we could also do it for everybody if they wanted to participate. Unfortunately, they can't do it this spring. They're going to do it in the fall. So again, I'm not clear on whether, and I don't mind about it being done in the fall, because this is going to be a living document. It's going to that's the difference between this one and the annual performance plan, that once you set them, that the system within my reporting and tracking locks. This one we can add and take away if a priority or initiative changes or something changes within that year. We will be able to talk about how we're going to address it, what efforts we need to make to be able to support whatever it is. So I'm going to be learning on this. It is it's an easier document, certainly for me. I feel like you know, we're gonna get it sorted, and then we'll be really good to go for, you know, for next year on when do we do surveys? Do we do another town hall? So I think there's a couple of options, for all the communities. I know that, everybody's got about the same question is, should we, you know, what do you think? Do you want to come and present? Do you want to come and do a town hall in here, there, everywhere? I don't think there's much value in doing 6 or 7 town halls in each community. I don't know that we would, unless they're, but a meeting or anything you know your citizens better than I do. If you think that having I don't know, coffee with the cops, something that you want to try and see if we can get people to show up. We have, yeah, so there's just, I'm looking to you for how best you think you want to get the engagement of the citizens and what they would like to see. Because I've always in the past for the APP, I have depended on you folks to tell us what that is. And I think this is an opportunity for everybody to dive a little bit deeper. And it is going to depend solely on sort of that feedback and what it looks like. So each plan, I don't know, again, you folks will decide how you know, want to do it, but I will share with, you know, it's quite simple. It's gonna say Crossfield, and then I might have some suggested priorities, and then we will go through, we'll gather the feedback that you have from your citizens, from yourselves. I will put forward the statistics, the realities of you know, where we can best place ourselves for the best success, what the goals should be, what the measures are going to be, and how, and those will all be set and signed off by whoever is going to be the community, the lead representative for the community. So whether that's going to be the CAO, whether that's going to be Russ, and then there's sub ones too. So there can be as many folks involved in this. And at the end of the plan development, then it's reviewed and signed off by you to acknowledge that, yes, we've looked at all of the things. There's going to be, you know, we can't have so many priorities that we can't possibly lift them. But certainly, I think that, you know, there typically will fall under a sort of a clump, like the property and persons crimes and the domestic violence and you know, mental health is always, you know, it is on the rise. It is concerning, and the property crime and the persons crimes and road safety. Road safety is always a big issue as well with communities, particularly growing communities like Crossfield. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I think once, I think we're going to go, I think Bike has some sort of, they've invited us to, if council there agrees to maybe go, I think they have some sort of a coffee with council or something every once in a while. And so they may invite us to go to that so that we have an opportunity to just be there and say, okay, just to help. I don't know that we should lead in like the more informal things. The way this is designed, you know, our hope is that you will be able to solicit some feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. But if we are there, Ian and or myself, then we can speak to the crime stat. We can speak to the realities of what, you know, there's perception of, there's actuals, and there are the meat and potatoes of the everyday. So I think, I don't know if that covers what it is, but certainly once we sit down with the working group, whoever that may be, if we can just get it collated, we can sift through it. One of the things that I admire about Crossfield and Ian is that we are able to get, you know, get it all on the table. I think we're able to easily agree or make a decision on this is the direction we're gonna go. And this is what we can reasonably support. And then we just go. And if for whatever reason, and the thing about the tracking is that we are able to easily see fairly quickly if we're meeting our targets and what adjustments we may have to make in order to meet the deliverables that are established. Does that
Right.
help without saying a whole lot of stuff? It is very simple for me. It's just, I don't want to be the one that is just a talking head in a room. That's sort of what because that seems to have been what happened with the town hall, the last time. It was first really lots and then it just kind of faded off. And I don't know, it happens in Airdrie, it happens in larger places as well. And I don't, like at one point we talked about, making it just in person, but it's just too large of a footprint to expect that. And then it's like, okay, well, do we wander around and do town halls in every 7? It's not always practical, but if that ends up being what we need to do, then we'll roll it out. But sometimes a more casual venue or event allows for people to feel less, I don't know, in a less structured format.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm glad.
open to whatever.
Yeah, I think we can figure something out. And it might be twofold too. It could be a broader survey and then we have some coffees or some informal meeting or whatever that looks like, right? So, well, we might be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm sure I want to start by saying I am glad you addressed the timelines of this because we just got this
There's-
letter
And
and February's over.
I got it on the 19th and I'm like, so I started, I don't know if I did it with yours because I think yours is one, but I actually put February/March and then I was like,
Yeah.
and that's what Russ, I said, I got the presentation at the tail end of I want to say the 28th, there's 27th, something of January. And they're going on and they're saying, okay, and then you're going to do this. And then in February, and I said, sir, I will not be keeping those timelines. I'm going to report myself right now because I want to take my time. I want us to make sure that we cover as the bits and pieces, and make sure that we are doing credit where credit is due with the citizens. If we seek their input, we must consider it. And I think that it is, we may be surprised in what comes up, but certainly if there's an ability for us to tailor, what we're delivering, then we want to be front and center for that. So I was already forgiven at the end of January.
Yeah,
I
well,
was
that's
going to be
good.
late. So there is no pressure other than we do want to move it along. But there is nothing on the.
Yeah, because I looked at
document.
this letter, and I'm like, oh, there's no way we're making those
Well,
timelines.
and I wanted to I think I actually put it in all of the emails and then I deleted it because I have to send it to the big bosses. And so I thought it probably wasn't good to say we're going to be late, but
Yeah.
publicly we're going to be late and that's okay. But it doesn't mean we'll just continue doing the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
And till we build the plan and formalize.
I feel though that some communities have already started.
There are some, but again, so one of the things that's awkward about the transition is this is almost exactly what we'd be doing with the annual performance plan. It just looks different. So some communities, so all of the letters came out. Mine landed in my inbox on the 19th of February. And then I sent it out. So then everybody, we weren't allowed to send it out. I had the training early. Other detachment commanders didn't have the training.
Oh.
So the rollout was clunky,
Okay,
let's just say. So we're just gonna smooth it out.
fair enough. Any questions for Inspector Weir? Well, I think it would suffice to say that you'll just work with Kinza and Russ to figure out a plan,
Okay.
and we'll make some timelines that are good for
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there, and then we can involve who needs to be involved.
Yeah. We'll just, you guys tell us when to be, where we need to be and how we can help, because we will provide you with the statistics. We'll not have them so clunked up. We'll try and have them a little bit easier to read and
Mhm.
sort of understand.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I do have some questions though, like, as you know,
Mhm.
things are changing
They are.
for
changing.
Crossfield, right? We won't have a Corey or even Corey here as our officer.
That's right.
So
Can't talk about you.
he lives here, well,
We can't talk about the
That's-
children and.
right? So anyway, sorry, I just had a couple questions on that because I
Mhm.
don't know what that's gonna look like for Crossfield. Like I get the feeling from you guys that, yeah, we'll still be here for some things, but that general presence and visual presence and that type of thing, you're not going to be here for. So we'll have you in the schools and doing some of those engagements, and then maybe at some events. But what happens in the middle? What kind of service can our residents expect?
So it will look very different. I mean, you have enjoyed, the enhanced position before I came.
Mm.
And then when the police funding model changed, then it was, okay, you can keep your enhanced. We're not sure
Mhm.
what is going to happen with it, but you won't pay for it. And then we're going to decide. There was 2 or 3 or 4 different things that that were unclear. One was that what's happened here is that we don't lose them. They just roll into the provincial resource umbrella that I direct and make decisions on where and what they do. There were some that were going to be, the government of Alberta consulting with division would decide where those positions were, and we could have lost them entirely, or they could have disappeared entirely. So I think the writing has been on the wall in some format that the enhanced model was going to disappear. So I think the notice was given whenever 2021 that things were changing. So I think the one way is that I think there was the luxury of those enhanced positions that I think there's 45 across the division. Those communities were, provided, that cushion, if you will, that they got it. It absolutely is gonna look different. I have 7 communities. I cannot have one full-time officer and a vehicle working full-time in one of the 7 communities. That is not efficient nor effective use of the resources. So what I have made the decision to do with the position is, the Rocky View enhanced position was a very different MOU than the Crossfield, which is the traditional community policing liaison. Rocky View enhanced, the previous OIC, sought the support of Rocky View County at the time to move theirs from that community policing traditional enhanced position into a crime reduction position. And that so that position has been embedded in the crime reduction unit that Ian speaks to, or has spoken to from time to time. And that allowed Rocky View County to enjoy a certain number of files every year in Rocky View County to be supported by the entire crime reduction unit, which at that time, including the enhanced member, was 6 regular members, a crime analyst, and support staff. So they were able to work on some of these organized crime, organized criminals, groups within Rocky View County. So the decision that I made with respect to the Rocky View County one was it would stay doing what it's doing. The Crossfield, so the Crossfield enhanced position will go into the plainclothes or the general investigative section in Airdrie, and it will be embedded very similarly to how it is with the crime reduction unit. So I just want to let you know, so Crossfield enjoyed 6 files in 2023 that were supported by the 6 crime reduction unit team entirely for some of the crimes you had. 2024 was 7 and 2025 was 2. So by embedding the second position across all of it will allow, when it's required for the more complex investigations, like the sexual assaults that are major, that have happened in this community, we will be able to leverage between crime reduction unit and the GIS unit up to 13 specialized regular member investigators, a crime analyst, and support staff. So I have to look at the totality of what one position, how I can be efficient and provide over and now in a larger, so the Rocky View enhanced position now, like the Rocky View enhanced position will, the only thing that will change from them is the geographic footprint. It will now look after and be able to be deployed for the large rural footprint, which is all 7 communities, including Rocky View County. And this is what will happen with the Crossfield position. So yes, it will look different, but do I, right now, the number of resources that we have will not, these complex investigations, and I will tell you that investigations today are more and more complex and require a level of expertise that takes members off of the road. So the number of warrants, the number of time that is required and the expertise that's required, for example, to download data from phones and computers and devices, it takes considerable amount of time. And for me to pull a member off the watch will now remove 1 or 2 of them out of the watch, will now lower the visibility and the frontline responders from. So I have to try and find a way to have the best use of the resources. So I do agree that there will be a noticeable silence, I guess, if you will, when the truck, is it a truck keeper? Isn't parked in front of the fire.
Well, we don't like it parked in front of the fire hall anyway.
Well, wherever
Cory.
it is. So,
Stop parking there.
And now in front of Donut Shop.
That's right.
So I'm
Come on.
aware that it is going to feel different, it's gonna look different, and it is going to, it's going to look like something is off. For sure.
Yes, and I guess with that, and we knew we were gonna have to pay it sometime, and we're going to pay, and boy, are we gonna pay. That's gone up substantially, so it's not gonna just cost us like $200,000 a year. We're gonna be going up to $300,000 a year for an officer we don't even have here in Crossfield. For a service that is less than what we got for nothing. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah, so I can't.
Where those gaps
I
are.
can't speak to the nothing, like I'm not the funding model,
No,
I'm not.
But I mean, that's what they gave us. We didn't
No, and
ask for it, that's
and I
what they
get
gave
it.
us, but
I
my
don't,
question is,
Mhm.
where are the gaps? Like, you talk about, how just a few minutes ago, how you'll be, at the right place in the right time in Crossfield. How does that work moving forward? How
that's what
will we do
that's what
that?
we always try and do. We
Yeah.
try, we do our best to be, we have a large geographic footprint. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
So the thing is to try and be strategic with what we have. And it's probably a little bit like what your job is to say, I have this much money and I need a sewer line and I need water and I need all those things. So that's what my job is to with the where, the when and the how. So when I first got here, we did not have 24/7 rural
Right.
policing. That is when I integrated Bicycur that allowed us for the 24/7. That has been a huge, that matters to the communities that we have 24/7, that now if something happens at 3 o'clock in the morning, the phone, the member's not being called out of bed and then going to the office. So we have made improvements and we have maintained those.
so the 24/7 will carry forward?
It will carry forward.
Okay, this is,
not
that's what I want to hear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's what
that's
I'm
not
asking.
changing. That is not changing unless I get hit by a bus on the way home and somebody changes their mind. I fought tooth and nail for that.
Right,
We have demonstrated that it works. It might not be perfect, but it is better than where it was before. And I can honestly tell you, when I first got here, I was told the amalgamations, they never work, it's a bunch of crap and blah, blah, blah. We made it work and we made it work because communities like yours gave me a chance to show you that we could do it. Would I love more yellow stripes? Would I like
course.
more? I would love them. But again, my job is to take what I have and do the most with it for everyone. And if I will be the first one to tell you that if placing this position where I am, if the juice ain't worth the squeeze, it will come out and it will go somewhere else. But I will tell you this, and I will tell all the communities, nobody will get one member that will be working solely in one community, in a community policing,
in your region.
not right now.
What about other regions?
What
That's a
other
choice of
region?
we're in Airdrie Bicycler
Yeah.
region. Will there be different models in,
Could be.
okay,
It's up to the commanders.
okay,
It's entirely up to the commanders. I can tell you that, I can tell you that the Cochrane Rocky View enhanced position was deployed to a different community entirely within that footprint of responsibility. So, and I don't know what Strathmore did. I know Strathmore was eyeing up, the enhanced, crew, also. So it's based on where each commander can best utilize the resource. And it is, like, it's a gift for me. I know that it is like, I'm the Grinch that took your sock.
well, we have to, the thing is, we have a job too, and we have to justify to our residents who are paying for this, and we're gonna have to up our taxes to pay, right? We have to be able to explain what kind of service they're getting
Yeah.
for that dollar,
Yeah, and despite.
right?
Me, I told you that he's working 24/7. He's not.
I know. I know.
Sleep doesn't count.
His members, like my rural members, other than Cory, obviously control the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Community, and that's not gonna change. And
That's what I'm looking for.
yeah, no.
Okay,
So it's not
And-
gonna change.
I'm actually making a concentrated effort
Yeah.
to have meetings with all the teams and saying, okay, you may have leaned a little bit on Cory because he was in
Yeah.
Crossfield, but
Mhm.
yeah, that's not there anymore. So we are making a concentrated effort to. be
to
more
still do
visible.
patrol,
Oh, yeah.
patrols and be visible here.
So the
Okay.
the same thing. So if you go back, so they did, he was, the Rocky View, or sorry, the Crossfield enhanced position was like a gift. I used to tell people you can't count on it, like the members. I'd say you can't count, like that is a gift. So, but I know that Ian has already met with Russ to go over the things in the community that matter, the events, the things that you really, really would like to see the presence of the police in some fashion. Those are things, and Ian does it with every community. Bicycler has a parade and a this and a that, and everybody has something, and we make a very big effort to make sure that we're there. I think Ian and 3 or 4 of the fellows just about had a jammer playing floor hockey with the kids at Catherine School. So, you know, I think we make every effort to make sure that we showcase ourselves as not always just responding to calls for
Right.
service. And so exactly, I don't think you were the mayor, you were the mayor when we did the pilot. Like, we were very clear.
I think it came in just after the pilot started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is exactly what we deliver to everybody. So, but as Ian said, sometimes members are like, oh, Corey's there. So, but they'll get there, and where they don't, then that is where, you know, I think that, you know, Ian will continue to have close communications with Russ. And if there are things that we need to be
Mhm.
pointed out that we can do better, then there will be discussions that happen with that. But there is
Right.
not going to be, you're not going to have the car and that sort of extra.
No, I think we get
service.
that. We just, but we want to know what do we get? And if we,
Yeah.
We're gonna get
and
our,
if we
we're gonna
can,
get our best.
I'd be shocked, and because I do it for all other communities, that if Kinder or Ross calls that, hey, we need this.
Yep.
It's not gonna be fulfilled. Like, I can't see it. And I don't wanna say I want you guys to hold me accountable, because I don't think it would come to that. I think it's better that we work together. And I've encouraged Russ as well, like, any issues you're having in the community, if that means that we need to do a project where we have specific enforcement, proactive patrols, we bring crew in. And when we talk, and when Matt talked to a crew, I just want to make the distinction, like, we have access to provincial crew,
Mhm.
which is different than Airdrie crew. Because we have to share with Southern Alberta. No different than we have access to our GIS section, and we have the provincial GIS. I can tell you in the last 6 months, I've gone to provincial GIS at least 6 times, and each time I've got no.
Yeah.
So at least now we have the ability to reach into that, but like say, I know we work together, and yeah, the visibility may be a little bit different, but I'm gonna encourage my guys to be out here, and I know there are members that live here, so that's not gonna be an issue for those guys, but even for all the other members, and not just outside the hours where Corey would have been working, but every day and night.
yeah, and maybe it's just me, but and maybe I just like things laid out.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what are their expectations? Can you just give us an idea, lay it out,
Yeah.
what we can expect from this new service?
Yeah, so the expectation is, and I think Ian, you can say it in a nutshell, the expectation is that they have very specific patrol and proactive and patrol saturation expectation. And a lot of that is driven by, you know, might be the crime trends, might be emerging, but also, you know, I think there was a time when there were some issues with, I don't know, kids behind the school at certain times of the whatever and ratting around on ATVs. You know, if you can give us a timeline, then we can be there and kind of interrupt or dissuade that sort of
Mhm.
behavior. Those are the things that we do. We do not, you know, we do not sit, you know, and wait for the phone to ring and then
Mhm.
go from the office. That is one of the things.
Yeah.
We have a large geographic area. The members do a lot of patrolling and a lot of driving around, and call response is one part of it. So I do say this, that, you know, Ian and I are very like-minded. We will do, if it, whether it's some crime popping out of the cake somewhere, whether it's community events, whether it's nice to do, whether there's some road safety things, then he will come to me and ask for, will you support an enhanced whatever, which is typically overtime. I'm in charge of the budget, and I spend money. I spend every penny of my budget, and there are times when I go over my budget, but sometimes that's the cost of doing policing. I don't throw it away, but when we talk about some of our larger, more significant investigations, then we don't look at budget lines. We have to just do it. So I feel like Ian is probably one of the most committed, community-minded members I've ever worked with, and he will, we'll get there. And one of the things that I can say is we work very hard to keep our resources on the rural side as full as we can, because we don't have as large of a contingent. So, and all of our members are they're pretty much handpicked, because they do have to be able to do a very broad core of that community and emergency and crisis response. So they are quite gifted in what they do and what they are able to do. So I consider ourselves very fortunate. But 24/7 policing is not leaving.
Good. I liked a couple things that I heard there. 24/7 is not leaving. We're still gonna be patrolled.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe not in the same way, but you know,
Was in town
Corey,
twice yesterday.
if you're on call a lot, your car's still gonna be in town, so that's great. So I heard some really good things in the conversation. I think that we just need to keep the communication open,
Mhm.
in contact with, you know, Russ and Kinza,
Mhm.
you know, often, so that
Mhm.
if there are any trouble or pinch points, that we can deal with them right away instead
Yeah,
of
I
letting
think
them linger.
there's, like in some communities, we have quarterly formal or as needed.
Yeah.
So we can do that. So I think the timeliness of this community priority plan feeds in well to the loss that you will be experiencing with the enhanced position cost. So it might be that some of those things percolate up, and then we will build a plan around it. It won't look the same, but if that's what boils up from the community, then your plan might look a little bit different than Acme's plan.
Sure.
Okay, so that it is timely, even though we're not going to be on time. We will, I think when I got the email about, hey, go tell them that they can't have it anymore, and then this one came up, I thought, well, it's a good opportunity for you to be able to really articulate sort of where that, you call it pinch point, or the angst is for
Mhm.
how do we embrace the new normal, and what does that look?
Great.
I'm not
Okay.
gonna leave you hanging.
Any questions from anyone else? Okay, excellent. Well, thanks for your time.
No, thank you for us.
Yeah, appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with these guys.
Russ is told me that I have to pay for life every month now, is that?
He eats a lot, by the way.
So does Corey. So does Corey.
All right, drive safe. All right, sorry, council, I had a few questions on that.
Yep.
Okay, so have a couple motions. So who'd like to make the first motion?
Through the chair,
Councillor Kosh.
I move that council accept the RCMP Q3 update for information.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, that's motion carried. And the second motion,
Through the chair,
Councillor Brennan.
move that council accept the RCMP Community Priorities Plan as presented and direct administration to proceed with public consultation to include an online survey and open house to be coordinated with the RCMP.
Is there anyone opposed? And motion carried. Okay, item 5.1, subdivision file 2025 dash lots of numbers dash S 701 Western Drive. So that Steve gets for putting in lots of numbers. Anytime you're ready, Director Altina.
To the mayor, I believe Lauren sets the roll file numbers, so.
Oh, it's Lauren's fault. I get it. That's still didn't see.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Steve Altina, Director of Infrastructure and Community Growth here to present item 5.1, which is a subdivision item related to 701 Western Drive, file number 2025-210000S. I actually missed a zero in my presentation. There's 5 zeros in that. Purpose of this report is for the subdivision authority to assess the proposed subdivision of 2.04 hectares, around 5 acres, plus or minus 5 acres of Northwest 2428, 1 west of the 5th, from an existing 8.18 hectare, plus or minus kind of 20.21 acre parent parcel. The subject lands are located in the southernmost quarter of the Crossfield East Area Structure Plan, again within Northwest 2428, 1 west of the 5th. The property is abutted by Highway 280 to the west and Township Road 284 to the north and agricultural land to the east and the south. The subject lands are located within the Crossfield East ASP. The ASP is approved in the area in 2019 and supports industrial development on these lands. The redesignation of the subject lands to light industrial and commercial I1 and medium industrial was I2 was approved by council on September 2nd, 2025 to support the proposed subdivision. The development proposal is to subdivide 2.04 hectares, around 5 acres, from the northwest corner of the 8.18 hectare, around 20 acre subject lands to support the development of a wood pallet manufacturer facility. A land use change from the UR, so the urban reserve, to the industrial districts, again, was completed on September 2nd of 2025. And the application is to develop that manufacturing plant on that 5 acres up in the northeastern corner. The remainder, plus or minus 15 acres, is going to remain undeveloped at this time and will be developed in the future. Administration conducted a policy analysis on this file and found that the proposed subdivision is compliant with the policies of the town municipal development plan, the Crossfield East Area Structure Plan, and the town land use bylaw. As with the redesignation, we'll note there was a local plan requirement on the Crossfield East ASP. The applicant did prepare a conceptual plan and a conceptual plan report, and the administration supported that the concept plan was sufficient to plan for the 20 acres within that larger 160 acre quarter section. Interim servicing, there is no servicing on the east side of Highway 2A. The Crossfield East ASP does require pipe municipal servicing, but as council may recall, last June we approved the new municipal development plan, which opened the door to allow for interim on-site servicing east of Highway 2A in a bid to support getting development started on the east side. So we do find that it does align with our higher order statutory plan, the one that takes precedence with the MDP to support for interim servicing. A number of technical studies were also prepared to support the concept plan, the redesignation, and the subdivision. The applicant has previously submitted a utility servicing report, a biophysical impact assessment, a phase 1 environmental assessment, a limited phase 2 environmental assessment, a transportation impact assessment that was reviewed by both ourselves and Alberta Transportation, a historical resources overview, and a geotechnical report. After the subdivision here, depending on council's decision, administration will work with the applicant on further site-specific technical requirements at the development permit stage. So there'll be further technical requirements at the DP stage when they go to build the building, the parking lots, the approaches, and the infrastructure on the lands there. The subdivision condition set is set out in attachment A for council's information and as part of this report. The subdivision condition summary includes a development agreement to improve gravel road structure for Township Road 284. They will be bringing in around 10 trips a day, I believe 5 in, 5 out of heavy vehicles. And so the gravel structure on Township Road 284, also known as Western Drive, will likely need to be improved to support that traffic load. There's also a road acquisition agreement for 19.0 meters of road right of way to secure the future north-south road utility corridor as shown in the concept plans that runs from the Township Road 284 south to the south boundary of the 20 acre parcel. That's been identified as a road and utility corridor for the future. And then there's a dedication of 6.0 meters of road right of way along Township Road 284 to support a future industrial arterial road. Under the town's transportation master plan, Township Road 284 will be designated as a paved industrial arterial road in the future. And so the administration is seeking to secure that right of way along Township Road 284 to support that expanded roadway in the future. The applicant will also need to construct a new approach from Township Road 284 to access the new parcel. There will also be a deferred servicing agreement. As I mentioned, there's no water or wastewater servicing in the area. at this time. So diverted servicing agreement will ensure that there's a future connection made from that development to piped water, wastewater, and stormwater systems when made available. And at this time, the applicant will be dedicating a linear MR space along the western edge to support future pathway system, which is part of the pathway network set out in the Crossfield East Area Structure Plan. Considering the policy alignment and the conditions set put forward, administration recommends that the 701 Western Drive subdivision application 2025-210000-S be approved with the conditions set out in attachment A. We're available for any questions if council may have them. We did reach out to the applicant. They were not able to make it tonight. So they're not here to answer any questions on their behalf, but administration is here to answer any questions.
Great. Thanks, Director Altina. Questions from council? Deputy Mayor.
Through the chair. Thank you, Mayor. I'll start on the connection to the when we end up putting services over onto the east side. You've got a timeline of 3 years to do that. Is that a general rule of thumb, or is that just, not saying we just came up with the number 3 years, but I think that might be a little bit long, in my opinion, but there's probably other people that have more experience than mine on this, and maybe their opinion's more valid than mine.
Sure. Through the chair to Deputy Mayor Gustafson, the 3 years was added at the applicant's request. They did want a little bit of a time frame there. So what would happen is the municipal servicing would be installed along Township Road 284 or along that north-south road that we're protecting for a utility corridor. The applicant really has no say over the time frame for when the town or a future developer may install that those utility pieces. So the applicant had asked for a bit of a buffer zone, bit of a buffer time, right? Because it's going to incur costs for them to make those connections, right? They're going to have to hot tap into our line, dig up the ditch, maybe perhaps dig up part of the road if there's a road existing there at that time, part of their yard and things like that. So there may be a substantial cost to them, and running in the tens of thousands of dollars to get it hooked up and plumbed all properly. So they did ask for a little bit of a buffer time, rather than an immediate requirement to connect, the next day that those services are available. So,
Which I can appreciate. I understand businesses, it's not always doing business. And costs are always high. So, the next one, security of 10,000 to secure the approach construction. That is in 5, in the previous section there in 5B. And that 10,000, is that another standard dollar amount that we use for security on something like that, on that approach?
for sure, through the chair, Deputy Mayor. So under the subdivision and development regulations, each new parcel that's created must have access. And so what we've set up here is that the applicant may either build that approach now to have access, or they may provide a $10,000 security to build it in the future. So when they come to build their facility with a development permit, they'll build an approach and do it all up, right? So this allows the applicant to defer that to that stage while securing the need for the town, because let's say the applicant decides to leave and not build the facility, then the town can move in and build that approach if necessary to satisfy the subdivision and development regulations. So it provides us some flexibility for the applicant as well as some security for the town that parcel will be accessed appropriately.
Excellent. Yeah, that's what I figured anyways. One last one. You had brought up about the upgrading the gravel road because of the amount of trips. One thing, I don't know if we've missed it or, gravel, dust. Is there any thoughts, any dust mitigation for that section of road that, just thoughts, because they're, if it's going to be used all the time, it doesn't rain all the time here, and there's going to be, I think, quite a bit of dust being created. So maybe a thought into that.
Sure. Through the mayor to Deputy Mayor Gustafson. Certainly dust is always consideration when we're looking at gravel roads and what's going to go on them. In this case, they didn't quite meet the threshold to pave the road, and it's a big ask as well, especially for a smaller facility like this. So we felt that improving the gravel road to a more robust gravel structure was appropriate. In terms of dust, there's not a lot of development on that side, and there's certainly no residential development kind of on that side. So we don't expect that the dust would be too bothersome. The town does have a calcium program. We calcium near the golf course and near some of our more sensitive areas to prevent some of that dust. So I think it would be something that we would assess as we kind of go to see if we start to generate dust complaints, and then the town would include this portion in their calcium program. So
Okay, thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Just curious, as the land develops out, will we collect enough levies to do the paving of that road?
To the mayor, so typically we look to see kind of who triggers it. There's a threshold, typically 200 to 300 vehicles per day would trigger
Mhm.
paving of a road.
Okay.
These guys aren't going to generate like nearly that much traffic on that road. So we aren't collecting levies specifically to pave that road necessarily, but should there be larger development happen in the remaining 15 acres or another development out there,
Right.
someone at some point may push that over the limit and require that road to be paved. So it's something we'll have to certainly keep an eye on. We felt that was probably an onerous ask for a smaller facility such as
Yeah,
this.
for now.
But we also wanted to make sure that we could maintain the road satisfactorily and not, see excessive maintenance on we have a very thin gravel structure out there right now. So we do have a condition in there for them to improve that gravel structure to support some of their heavier traffic. So, but yeah, it's certainly something we'll be monitoring as development proceeds out there.
Sounds good. All right, if there's no further questions or discussion, who would like to make a motion?
Good, Sheriff.
Go ahead.
I move that subdivision application 2025-210000-S for 701 Western Drive be approved for conditions as outlined within attachment A of the report.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, that's motion carried. Item 6.1, bylaw 2026-003, amendment to land use bylaw 2018-14. Director Altina.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. This is first reading for an amendment to amendments to the land use bylaw. Administration's identified a number of improvement areas in the land use bylaw. This is to differentiate from our larger land use bylaw rewrite project or renewal project that I presented on just a few weeks ago with that terms of reference. There's a number of items in our current land use bylaw that are difficult to work with, and we had wanted to do a kind of a targeted amendment just to support us for the next kind of year until we have that larger land use bylaw kind of rewritten. So again, the purpose of this report is to present those proposed amendments to council for first reading. Again, since the adoption of the bylaw in 2018, administration identified areas in the bylaw that lack clarity, consistency, which may limit the development authority's ability to effectively interpret and enforce its provisions. A big piece of that being in the enforcement piece. We did lack an enforcement piece and specified penalties within the previous bylaw. And so we do lack a compliance piece for a number of things that have occurred in town since I've been with the town, certainly. So considering all this and to ensure future clarity, consistency, and defensibility in decision-making, we are proposing amendments, and I'll just kind of give a council summary today. We will go for a public hearing. We would try to target March 17th in 2 weeks from today, where we can provide a lot more in-depth detail for council. But the amendments are summarized as additions and adjustments to the land use bylaw definitions for greater clarity and interpretation. We're adding the peace officer as a designated officer for enforcement, so that strongly links back to our designated officer bylaw. Allow discretion to the development authority or the municipal planning commission, so MPC, to consider uses that are similar or complementary in nature to the uses listed as permitted or discretionary within the district. Right now, the way the land use bylaw reads is that if it's not listed as a permitted or discretionary use, we can't consider it at all. But sometimes it's hard to capture every single use. And so looking for some flexibility to say, for instance, I don't think we have warehousing in I-1, even though warehousing could certainly fit in I-1, and it certainly aligns with some of the other uses in I-1. But under our current land use bylaw, we would have to say, no, that doesn't fit, right? So looking for some flexibility on some of those items, right? Clarify wording with numerous clauses to better reflect accurate language and requirements. We have some inconsistencies throughout the bylaw. Clarify wording to reflect and align with the town's notification bylaw, which was updated recently. So just making sure that we're aligned with that notification bylaw. Better define and outline bylaw contraventions, and again, detail offenses and introduce specified penalties, which you'll see in your package there. The proposed amendments are administrative in nature and intended to enhance transparency for applicants and the public, reduce uncertainty, interpretation, and support consistent and effective enforcement. That bylaw 2026-03 is set out in attachment A. So right now, our recommendation is that the Crossfield Land Use Bylaw Amendment 2026, oh boy, it's written 01 in the motion, but I believe it is 03, be given first reading. And that council direct administration to schedule and return to council with the matter for a public hearing prior to April 15th, 2026. And we're available for any questions.
Great, thank you. Questions for Director Altina?
Through the chair.
Councillor Kosh.
Would you mind clarifying in this document why we added or felt the need to add shipping containers to the, was it the prohibited and restricted in residential district?
Sure. Through the mayor, Councillor Kosh, we've had a number of requests regarding shipping containers in the residential district. Shipping containers are typically not permitted in most residential districts and other municipalities, usually due to aesthetic reasons. They're large steel containers that are often painted colors that don't really fit with the community aesthetics. So they were added in just to provide some tools for administration to manage shipping containers basically in the residential area.
Through the chair. My thoughts on that would be that they do make like really small ones, like 4 foot long, 10 foot long, under 100 square foot, as well as the pods that people use for moving. And I'm wondering if by putting shipping containers as a whole as a prohibited item is too restrictive, and maybe there is, be it with a permit, with a size restriction, or with some decorative requirements, a way to only restrict the ugly 20 and 40 foot ones and maintain the ones that make really nice sheds, storage container, like, you know, they're very safe. There's a lot of cons, or sorry, a lot of pros that I can see to having a very small shipping container.
Sure. Through the mayor to Councillor Kosh, I can certainly see that point. What we can do, I think, before second reading in the public hearing is we can refine that a little bit and perhaps provide some additional language for council to consider before that time. Again, we're at first reading, just introducing the bylaw and the changes, so it's a good time for those questions. And so we can go back to the drawing board a little bit and look at that. Certainly, our intent is the much larger ones, the 40-foot containers, are a bit obtrusive, of course. Certainly, administration support in the past, the small pods or the moving on a temporary basis. So you're right. Perhaps we need to go back and take a look at some more flexibility in that language. So we can present that back to council with some wording changes, kind of for that second public hearing, second and third reading there. That's what council would like.
To the chair, yeah, thank you. I just thought that it was too broad. That's all.
Great. Deputy Mayor, questions?
Thank you, Mayor. Through the chair. A question just on the penalties in 543. Is that just following best practices from other communities on the amounts that we're charging for, not failing to obtain a development permit, is that enough, or is it too much, or I don't know, just because we never really had that kind of teeth that we could sink, into.
Yeah. Yeah, through the mayor, Deputy Mayor Gustafson, I believe we did review Carstairs and Disbury's land use bylaws and align some of those with those folks there. We did have that section specifically reviewed by our legal team as well, just to make sure our wording was correct and that everything was kind of reasonable in there, and that came back pretty good. So I think we're fairly comfortable with this for now. Again, if we see that there's some issues or we get some other information, otherwise we are doing that larger land use bylaw project. That we certainly have an opportunity to kind of adjust that as we go throughout the year. Well, not adjust that, but to amend that, early next year through the larger land use bylaw. But for now, we feel like this would support us in some of our compliance and enforcement activities going on throughout the town, whereas we currently lack a little bit of teeth to do some of those things. So
That's right.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
To the chair.
Councillor Benson.
Your definition under childcare, It's kind of refers to day homes and or babysitting programs, or after-school babysitting programs. I'm just kind of thinking about that, you know, in a normal sense, right? By having that, we're saying that people have to register with the town in order and be approved to be able to have those at home. Is that correct?
It's a business.
Well, so are a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's through the mayor to Councillor Benson. It's typically, you know, most of those items are considered a home-based business. So you know, even the day homes, the daycare centers, you know, if they're based in the home, it's often a home-based business, and there's a permitting process for that.
Yeah, and I'm to the chair, I'm just thinking, you know, it could be anywhere from 1 to 3 to, you know, the maximum is 6, right? And if you have one child under 2, I believe, you can only have 3 at a total. So like, there's lots of rules already around that. Right?
Yeah, so
Provincial. So I'm just thinking, you know, now we're making this, like, I just failed to see what is the advantage of having this in here.
right, and so through the chair to Councillor Benson, they're regulated provincially, not through the town for sure. But in terms of operating a business in your home, that is through a development permit or through a home-based business permit through the town, certainly. And again, we're just clarifying this definition here, which already exists in the land use bylaw. We're not adding this childcare definition. This is just a wording alignment or clarification here. So, but certainly a good conversation. Perhaps, you know, not for these minor targeted amendments, but perhaps in the larger picture of when we look at the rewriting the land use bylaw and renewal, and is there home-based occupations that maybe we don't need to regulate, or do we need to regulate more, or do we need to have more, you know, fingers on the pulse there, right? So,
Like you could have one bird, by this definition, if you have one child, you're looking at after one child, right? Like it would seem to me that you have to apply, right? Like, or even 2 or 3, right? Like, I'm just looking at that, and is that really necessary? Like historically in town, for many years, there weren't any day homes or daycares in town, and there were just, the town totally relied on individuals. Right? And so I kind of think, I would say 99% of them weren't, right, weren't registered, and most of them weren't regulated. But they still adhere to the provincial guidelines.
right, and through the mayor to Councillor Benson, again, part of the definition is that meets the interpretation requirements from other levels of government. So other levels of government would consider it a childcare facility, and then we would want to know about it, right? So,
Yeah, childcare. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I would say kindergartens, nurseries, okay, I get that, right? There's also, to the chair, there's also a reference to vehicles and RVs and that type of thing. I was trying to remember what section that was in. Sorry, I can't.
In the outdoor storage,
Yeah.
for storage of vehicles and waste materials and stuff.
So does that mean like what's the definition of outdoor storage? So there's people that I know have vehicles on their front driveways, right? I would be one of them, right? And in terms of RVs and other things, I'm just trying to think of, like, that would be a form of outdoor storage, right? And or a vehicle in the backyard, right, that they're storing, right? So like, so is that not a permitted thing? Like if it's on your own property? Like,
sorry, through the chair to Councillor Benson, which section are we referencing?
somebody said, oh,
It's through the chair. Can I just add where this is? It's light industrial commercial. Are we talking about that one? 13.1?
okay, well,
Or is it,
Like-
which does not include the storage of vehicles for outdoor storage? Are you talking about outdoor storage?
But we're talking about light industrial and commercial, not about residential.
Hang on.
Section 1. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
section,
it's not definitions.
and
Sorry.
section 1, and then you scroll down to,
Page 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Through the chair.
6.
Well, there we go. From outdoor storage. Sorry about that. So until outdoor storage is not clear.
But there's another section too.
Yeah, I'm just searching in this one.
So just through the chair to Councillor Benson, our original definition of outdoor storage is in black there. That's the one that's existing in the land use bylaw right now. And it had caused some confusion that outdoor storage is considered a use. And so it read that outdoor storage does not include the storage of vehicles, waste materials, debris, or garbage. And I think we had some arguments put forward that if they were to store waste materials, it's not considered a use because it's not outdoor storage. But of course, we don't want folks storing waste materials on properties.
Okay.
And so we tried to refine that definition to limit that sort of stuff. In terms of storage of vehicles, it's not related to personal vehicles that you have at your home, parked in your driveway, in front of your house, and things like that.
Okay.
It's related to the mass storage of vehicles outside, as we maybe saw, with a large amount of golf carts earlier in last year, with near 600 golf carts stored outside. And then
I
there
can think of only maybe one resident that has a bunch of those.
right. So, yeah. Yeah, outdoor storage does not refer necessarily to your parking of your personal vehicles. But if you're, operating a business that may distribute or sell vehicles,
Yeah.
right? And how that's
enough.
defined. So, but the previous definition created some uncertainty around waste materials, debris, and garbage, and almost suggested that you could do that because it's not considered outdoor storage,
Which is not.
which is not what we want, which was not the intent.
I'm curious on that one, just in our downtown area, there is some outdoor storage. How do we mitigate that through the land use bylaw?
To the mayor, which side of the tracks are we referring to? The west side?
Yeah, on the west side of the tracks.
And which properties?
Behind the tire shop.
Yes, okay. Some of those are tricky. Again, we enforce compliance when we receive complaints on those kind of items. We do have to look back through previous land use bylaws and perhaps, what they were permitted in the past. My understanding is that place has been used for storage for quite some time now, and it may be several land use bylaws ago, and perhaps the definition for outdoor storage at the time was something different. So we do, in essence, see some of these properties that are, grandfathered in, for lack of a better term, or legacied in. So we do try and be conscientious of that. Yes, but I'm aware of the property.
Deputy Mayor.
Through the chair, that brings up another question. You talk about grandfathered in, say that the land changes owners. And, say we were grandfathering, something in where they have outside storage. Would change of ownership nullify that grandfather?
It depends on the circumstance, depends on, we usually get a change of business use, or if they're trying to change the use of the land. I think you'll see like across the tracks here, Promote has a business where they have outdoor storage in a district that doesn't currently support outdoor storage. However, they're generally tolerated because they were there before the land use bylaw and the MDP made those changes to those areas, right? And so, it's not that we want to change some of these statutory plans and then run around and shut down the businesses that don't quite meet them, right? But as those things change and evolve, and it depends on the scope and scale of how they evolve, it is a bit of a gray area, to be quite honest, and we try and manage that as best as we can. And where we struggle with variances and things like that with administration, some of those things will be brought to MPC for a broader audience, right, to be discussed at a higher level too, right? So, so it really depends. It depends on what that change of ownership might entail, and the changes to the business. So,
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Okay, further questions? Okay, do we need an amendment to the motion in the first reading?
to the mayor, I think we can do first reading, and we'll take this back, Sherry, the development officer, and myself, and we'll look to propose some updated wording for council at second, and then we can
Okay.
do that amendment at second reading. We'll commit to bringing back that wording for you at second. So I don't think we would need to hold up first reading tonight, but it's good to get that out so we can work
Great.
on it, and we'll bring it back to you guys in a couple of weeks.
That's how we'll move forward then. Thank you. All right. If there's no further questions, who can make a motion?
Through the chair,
Deputy Mayor.
I'll move that bylaw 2026-03 be amended, amending bylaw, land use bylaw 2018-14 be given first reading.
Is there anybody opposed? That's motion carried. And the second motion,
Through the chair,
Councillor Brennan.
I move that council direct administration to schedule and return to council with the matter for a public hearing prior to April 15th, 2026.
Hey, is there anybody opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Director Altina.
Thank you.
Okay, item 7.1. Epilepsy, Southern Alberta request of proclamation for Purple Day for epilepsy awareness. Now. Anytime you're ready.
Good evening, Council. The purpose of this report is to provide Council with information on requests for a proclamation to proclaim March 26, 2026 as Purple Day in support of epilepsy awareness in the town of Crossfield. More than 30,000 residents in Calgary and Southern Alberta are currently living with epilepsy. A seizure occurs when sudden excess of electrical activity in the brain temporarily alters how a person feels, thinks, or behaves. Symptoms can range from mild to severe and may last for just a few seconds to several minutes. Epilepsy Southern Alberta is a non-profit organization committed to offering support and education and advocacy for individuals and families impacted by epilepsy in our region. March is recognized as Epilepsy Awareness Month in Canada, with March 26 designated as Purple Day for epilepsy awareness. Epilepsy Southern Alberta is requesting that the town of Crossfield proclaim March 26 as Purple Day to help raise awareness and reduce stigma for those living with epilepsy. Council has proclaimed March 26 as Purple Day in the town of Crossfield to support epilepsy awareness in 2024 and 2025. Administration is recommending that Council proclaim March 26, 2026 as Purple Day for epilepsy awareness in the town of Crossfield. That takes my report.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, if there's no questions, the town of Crossfield commends the work of the Epilepsy Southern Alberta, formerly known as the Epilepsy Association of Calgary, in raising awareness and understanding of epilepsy, reducing stigma, and empowering those who live with epilepsy to participate fully in their communities. Therefore, I, Kim Harris, Mayor of the town of Crossfield, do hereby proclaim March 26, 2026 as Purple Day in Crossfield, Alberta, Canada. Is there anyone opposed? No, that'd be motion carried. Okay, notice of motion. Just wanted to propose to council that we work with the food bank to put a letter forward to CPKC to see if we can get the holiday train to stop here in Crossfield. And see if we can, and if we can, that could possibly mean some food, more food for our food bank, and a donation from CPKC. Any conversation about that? Any questions at all?
Through the chair, I suppose I'm surprised it hasn't been a thought earlier on. So I think it's a good idea. I think it's worth trying.
Okay,
Through the chair,
Councillor Kosh.
I think it's a great idea as well. Would it require any infrastructure for people to be like deboarding or boarding the train? Oh, you just hop on and off?
Nobody gets on the train. They do a performance from the train,
Okay.
and basically CPKC stops where they want to stop, but we can make some proposals as to where the best place in Crossfield could stop. But they're going to be on their train property, so any of that kind of stuff would be up to them.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, who'd like to make a motion?
Through the chair,
Councillor Nielsen.
I move that administration be directed to send a letter with a supporting letter from the Crossfield Madden Food Bank to request the CPKC train to stop in Crossfield in December 2026.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, motion carried. Item 9, council business. I continue weekly to have CEO meetings. I went to the Rutabaga Bowl and Food Fest on Saturday. It was pretty fantastic. The kids beat me again, and I was deemed the biggest loser. No surprise there. So this year they felt sorry for me and gave me a big old turkey trophy.
Nice.
It was pretty biggest loser trophy. That's me. Yeah. Anyway, I just want to send a really big thank you out to the farmers market and Cheryl Shea for organizing. There was a lot of good vendors. I spent way too much money. But it was just a ton of fun and there was a great crowd. And I think we had more, participants in the Rutabaga Bowl than we have in the past. There was even a couple of people that Councilor Nielsen and I talked to that were from Calgary that heard it on CBC News and said, hey, that's interesting. Rutabaga Bowl, we should come out for that. So I think it attracts a lot of people from outside of Airdrie to come here, which is really good for us as well. And then also, I just want to put out a really big thank you for administration, not only the public works staff, but the admin in the office for fielding all those snow questions and whatnot. I think that when, Kinza made the request to pivot a little bit on the snow removal to mitigate some of those areas where it was drifting, I think that made a big difference in getting people moving again. So thank you to the public works staff and the admin for making that happen and getting people moving. And I don't know, I think that it was really good snow removal, the last couple of months. So just a little bit of appreciation there. Deputy Mayor.
Well, it's pretty quiet for me. Other than the snow day, I did go out and volunteered with my snowblower and helped a bunch of neighbors get either in or out of their driveways.
You come
So,
talk to us.
well, it's a little bit far to walk my snowblower over there, but you call me up anytime.
Oh, yeah.
I will load my machine up. I will come over. So that was about it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Benson.
Nothing to report at this time.
Councillor Brennan.
On the 25th, I was at the conversation event at the library. I think getting people out at 6:30, there was a pretty good turnout for that event. So hopefully that goes somewhere and the information they collected was useful enough for them to move forward. And that's all for me.
Great. See, that's 2 meetings in a row. I didn't forget about you.
I know. Moving up.
Councillor Kosh.
I also attended the Food Fest. It's always very well put on. Cheryl Shea does a fantastic job coordinating the farmers markets and such. So it was good to see all the vendors and all the people that attended.
Councillor Knight.
I also attended the Food Fest, which was requiring a payment on my credit card, but it was fantastic. We've had weekly meetings with the Water Commission. We're getting our agenda ready for next Wednesday, the 11th. We're also doing our AGM in Innisfail on April the 8th, 2026, which administration has been invited to also. So just busy talking with our CAO to keep things on the Water Commission train where we're going, and all I have to report.
Thank you. And Councillor Nielsen.
I attended the library engagement session too. That's actually very interesting. And we did have a good turnout for that. So that was great. I attended the Food Fest. That was a really fun event at the Rutabaga Bowl too. And I had a couple people reach out to me actually after the snow removal and they were quite impressed too. So I was going to do a shout out to the town as well for that. Did a great job, guys.
I'm pretty sure it's on video, but Councillor Nielsen was doing her warm-up stretches before the Rutabaga Bowl. That was something to see. Reminded me a little bit of SNL.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay. Who'd like to make a motion?
Through the chair,
Counselor Gosh,
I move that the council business be accepted as presented.
is anyone opposed? Okay, that's motion carried, and we'll move on to item 10.1, outstanding action items list with CEO Barney.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. So no changes being requested to the outstanding items list this evening. There is one item that I did want to note for council. You will recall on January 6th, Director Altina and our asset management staff brought forward an asset management overview. At that point, we shared some digital maps. We're now ready for a soft launch, so we'll be sharing those with council this week.
Wow.
We'll also be sharing them with our staff and looking for feedback from both parties. He will provide some direction on how he would like to see that feedback come back. Then we're hoping to be able to go forward with the public launch by May 1 of this year. So you'll see that this week. And nothing further from me.
Awesome. Any
Council has
questions?
That's it.
None from me either. But I do want to give one more thank you. A couple of residents reached out to me on when it was really icy there and said, can we get a sandbox for the public to come and get some sand? And the team made it happen. And I think that it seems like a small thing, but I think it's pretty big for some of our residents to have that opportunity to go get that. So thank you. And now we'll move to a motion for the outstanding items list.
Through the chair,
Counselor Knight,
I move that the outstanding items list be accepted as presented.
is anyone opposed? Motion carried. And who would like to adjourn?
Through the chair,
Counselor Nielsen.
I move that the council meeting adjourn at 19:47.
Awesome. And I'll have